That out of the way, and with that out of our hairs, let's go right ahead and talk about Klay Thompson, who's been a very, very interesting, player to talk about sort of the entirety of the season. Oh, and there was just recently a new report about Klay Thompson's mindset going into free agency. So I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about that as well. But let me just go ahead and there we go. So, see, that is the magnificent Klay Thompson, Mr. 0 for 10 in an elimination game himself. And I call him that because for some reason, whenever you look at almost every single Instagram comment about a sports, about anything that has to do with sports, there's that one guy in the comments section that's like, don't forget, Klay Thompson went 0 for 10 in an elimination game. And he's been getting talked about like the entirety of the regular season from last year. And from ever since the Warriors, ever since they won the championship in 2022, Klay Thompson has been getting a lot of disrespect from a lot of the players, or not a lot of the players, but a lot of the media and a lot of the fans. And it doesn't really seem like he's going to be on Golden State much much longer, given the way that he's been playing with Golden State. I mean, he was degraded at one point to being taken off the bench. That's how bad he was shooting. His defense is nowhere near the same thing that it was when the Warriors were, when they had Kevin Durant and when they were a relatively young team. That was half of his value as a player, his defense. And that aspect is it's sort of out the window now that he's suffered from several leg injuries on top of another, tearing his ACL, tearing all sorts of ligaments in his legs. And it's like his legs, they can't really keep up, which is okay because it's like you get old, that's normal. So the other half of his game, the 3-point shooting, he also wasn't doing that very efficiently at all throughout the year. And it seemed to affect him, it affected his mindset, and it's been affecting his play, and it's been affecting the Warriors for a while now. And it's really it may have gotten to his head just because all the bragging, constantly bragging about 4 rings. I guess this is that form of karma. But I'm going to go ahead and read the report on Klay's mindset heading into free agency. So Klay's less than 2 weeks away before becoming an unrestricted free agent, and it sounds like he is genuinely open to playing for a team other than the Golden State Warriors for the first time in his NBA career. So, let me just go ahead and continue to skim through this. So, here's a quote. Klay Thompson, I'm told, is open to all external options in free agency coming up. He intends to test free agency, Charania said. We know the Warriors. This is on Run It Back, by the way. If you have no idea what that is, you can go ahead and check out their account on Twitter or on X. My bad. But we know the Warriors want him back. They offered him an extension before the start of the season. They're going to see if they can be a deal, if there can be a deal that gets done. But he's going to be there in the marketplace seeking offers elsewhere. So the question is not whether the Warriors want Thompson back. The sharpshooter struggled with his shot and had his role reduced late in the season. He averaged 17 points per game and still is one of the more capable contributors to the team. However, it's not hard to envision a rival team offering Thompson significantly more money than the Warriors are willing to pay, which is the biggest problem and the biggest issue here in this little debacle, I guess you could say. So that's will Klay Thompson go for just being with the Warriors, or does he want the money now? Is he done because to be fair, he doesn't really have to ring chase. He already has 4 of them, and he's already cemented his legacy in all of NBA, being one of the best 3-point shooters that the playoffs has ever seen. So he doesn't need to ring chase. If anything, he needs to. It seems like he's chasing the bag now, but that's just me. But another thing that should be noted with this is that I mentioned he unfollowed the Warriors. He also deleted an Instagram post of him with Steph Curry and the recent championship that they won. And that seems that seems like a little bit much. Like, is that like that seems like a bit dramatic to me. Maybe, he's just doing that like to scare people and just be dramatic because, like that could be a pretty good strategy, but at the same time, like, really, is it that dramatic? Is it really that deep? But I digress. I mean, this let's see. How do I put this? I mean, Klay, he's a great player. He's been a phenomenal shooter for almost all of his life. A couple of bad games and a couple of, internet memes have reduced his legacy slightly to the point where it's like nobody really remembers how dangerous of a shooter this man was. You only remember his 0 for 10 performance in an elimination game. You only remember that. You don't remember Game 6 Klay. You don't remember Klay Thompson scoring 37 and a quarter. You don't remember Klay Thompson just, 12 dribbles or something, scoring 60 points, however many points it was. Like, you don't really remember that now. You only remember the elimination game, which is a little bit unfair for Klay. And maybe he does need a fresh start somewhere else. But one of the locations that it seems like he's really interested in is the Orlando Magic. Now, the Magic, they're, coincidentally also a playoff team. Like, they're in a much better spot than the Golden State Warriors are right now. So maybe maybe he isn't done ring chasing with his career. But at the same time, the Magic, they are a relatively young team. He followed Paolo Banchero on Instagram. So, might be just a little bit dramatic and might be reaching a little bit, but again, you have no idea with some of these players, because most of the time, granted, there are times where it's like it's revealed that there's some tampering involved. I remember there was this one instance where I forget who it was, but he was following like all of these guys on Instagram that weren't a part of his team, and then the league found out that he was tampering. I forget who it was. I forget exactly who it was, but I do remember it happening, but it's just I completely forget the context of all of it. So my bad, but that is there's definitely a possibility for that to be true. Now, will it be later investigated for tampering? I don't think so. But I mean, that it's just a possibility that's out there, because it's like, I mean, these kinds of things, they look like a sign of tampering. Like it seems like it's a sign, but maybe it's like that's what they want you to think. Like, some sort of reverse psychology. So it's like it's really difficult to figure out exactly which side he's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to just do both and is like, okay, I'll go to a contender that is willing to give me money, because it seems like those are still on the table, but we'll see. But that's all I really have to talk about Klay Thompson and his free agency and his little Instagram problems, whatever you want to call it. It's not really, it's kind of odd how that's one of the big news, one of the big basketball news is right now, just the fact that, oh my god, he unfollowed Golden State. Oh my gosh, he unfollowed or he started following Paolo. But that's genuinely a big deal, because it's like, ooh, this might be a sign. You never know. But it also might just be a little bit dramatic, because it's like, is it really that necessary? But that's just me. Again, that is just me. But with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and go into our break, and then we'll go ahead and pivot into our third segment, where we will be talking about Team USA and Kawhi Leonard and Derek White, and the possibility of Kawhi being replaced. So I will talk a little bit about that after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.